come on in. If you can, turn on your video so we can see you. See all your lovely faces. There we go. Okay. Just going to ask everyone to be muted as they come through.
There is no better time. I'm talking here right now. I'm talking here right now. Let's go. Right now is where you shine. I'm talking here right now. I'm talking here right now. It's not about what you've done. It's about what
you should hear a little bit of music in the background. I haven't just left it on. We were just talking about this before. Okay, we've got a few more people joining. Hello everyone. So good to see you all. If it hasn't muted you on arrival, please do mute yourself. It should mute everyone. Okay. Are we good to go? Is everyone ready? Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We were thinking about when to do it, you know, when's the best time, and hopefully everyone's children are in bed or at least en route to being in bed. We are so pleased to have you join us, and I just want to first of all introduce you to the lovely Kate, who is going to be manning the chat box. So say hi, Kate. Kate is going to be taking all of your questions. She is going to be looking at the interactions, seeing what we are able to help you with along the way. So if you do have any questions, please do put them in the chat box. Kate is a virtual assistant. She is absolutely fantastic. So if anyone is looking for a VA, I might share her. I might share her. She is really, really great. And what she's going to be doing is she's going to be sharing some stuff along the way to really help us keep momentum throughout the session today. So thank you so much for being with us today, Kate. We really do appreciate you joining us and being part of the team. Are we ready? Shall we get started? I'm going to hand over to Charlotte and let Charlotte introduce herself first, because I've done the welcome. So Charlotte, who are you and where are you from?
Hi, my name's Charlotte. I'm a speech and language therapist, and I'm the founder of Speech Therapy with Charlotte. You can check me out on Instagram if you want to scan that little QR code there. So I have been a speech and language therapist for a long time. I graduated about 16 years ago. And recently I set up an online business because I realized that there's loads of kids who need speech and language therapy support, and unfortunately not enough speech therapists to see all of those kids. And there's loads of parents out there who are worried and wondering how to support those kids whilst they wait. So that is what Speech Therapy with Charlotte is all about. I have lots of things that you can access, including my podcast, which is just 3 things there. My goal really is to give parents actionable things that they can do with their kids whilst they're waiting for speech therapy. So if that's you and your child is waiting for speech therapy, definitely go and check out my podcast. I hope it helps. I definitely have people reaching out saying that it has been helpful, that they're doing the stuff and that they're sharing it with other parents as well, which is great. Obviously, today is not just for kids who have speech and language needs. If you do have a child waiting for speech therapy, then hi, I'm here for you. But if you don't, then hi, I'm here for you too, because we know that speech and language development is one of those foundational things that we need to be thinking about when children start school. And when children start school, they're roughly about 4 years old, and all 4-year-olds have developing communication skills. So that's what I'm bringing to the team here today. I'll hand over now to Daisy.
Hey Hello. Hi. Am I unmuting myself? Yes, I have. Hi, I'm Daisy. I'm also known as 5-Minute Mum. 10 years ago, I was a teaching assistant at primary schools, working across early years and specialising supporting children one-to-one, specifically with speech and language. I then became a mum to 2 children, and when they were 3 and 1, I started a blog online, just basically trying to hack things that I had done in the classroom to support children and make it a lot easier and to be done in 5 minutes with stuff that you can grab from your kitchen or whatever. We started playing 5-minute games all the time with stealth learning. I started blogging and sharing them, and here we are 5 years on. I've now got 4 books, which include all kinds of different 5-minute games and activities. My kids are now 7 and 9. We're still playing those. And my passion is really to try and make life easier for the parents. So although a lot of my stuff looks like it's for kids, it's actually to make life easier for the parents. I need it to be 5 minutes because we all need to get rid of the guilt, because it's real and nobody needs it. It doesn't help anybody. So that's what I do. I
love it. I always think that that's, you know, we do all of these things for the children, but there's so much benefit for the parents as well, isn't there? So, hi everyone, I'm Samantha Delafia. I am the founder of SPD Tuition and Coaching. A little bit of background on me: I was a teacher and have been in education for nearly 15 years, which sounds a bit crazy when I think about it. My last role in school was as a deputy head. And from there I went into consultancy and teacher training, which I absolutely loved, originally as a literacy consultant, so supporting early reading, writing and that sort of thing. And then I started to see a huge gap between the data that we were seeing as educators and then what the children were actually able to do. So I started to look into the confidence of these children. I certified as an executive coach and mentor, and started to go into schools and do confidence coaching for children. And through this, it was born as a much wider support network, because it was the children coming to the sessions that actually said, we're learning all this stuff, Sam, and it's great and we're using it, but actually I told my mum about it and she doesn't know about it and she doesn't get it, and sometimes she shouts and, you know, finds things hard, which completely understand as a parent myself. And so we started to work with the parents a little bit more and support parents in that area of managing behaviour and supporting good mental health strategies and just kind of habits in general. And then of course the children were saying, but our teachers, and they need some help as well. So now we work with teachers, parents and children in understanding the brain and the neuroscience behind behaviour, so that they can be successful both academically but also in the wider world. And of course that starts from birth all the way, doesn't it, is utilising the brain and making the most of it. So that's what I do. And our recent project is the balance system, or the behaviour balance system, which brings all of that into one place. So that's a little bit about me. And I think we could move straight on into why we're here. So let's have a look at the bigger picture and why we're here. Charlotte, do you want to get into this?
So just as a bit of an overview, obviously today we're going to give you loads of information about how you can get started with supporting your kids as they go to primary. But we just wanted to let you know, like, why we're here, why we've come together to do this. So all 3 of us have been doing work in this area to, you know, already. So Sam and I have an online program, which we'll tell you more about later. We have 3 downloadable sessions, and we're really trying to give parents, so this is all for parents, tools that they can use with their kids at the right time, so that you don't have to be overwhelmed by all the information. So the sessions are when you've got 1 month till your children start school, 1 week in, 1 week to go, sorry, and then 1 week in. And also Daisy has a new book out, which is her first children's book, which is the Starting School book. And we're going to talk about these a bit more later, but we just wanted to pop that in here so that you can see why we're kind of talking about the subject and why we have come together. If you want to scan that, that will take you through to the online program. If you want to do any shopping whilst we're talking, we would very much value that. Let's keep going.
Awesome.
So we just wanted to say that we think that you are all awesome. Well done for coming today and for taking the time to think about this, because I know everyone's super busy and we're all parents, right? So we have as well, the three of us, we have just done the bedtime juggle and tried to have something to eat, and we've all got here. So thank you so much for taking your time out, and just trying to think about being proactive about how we can support our kids. I also have a child starting school in September, so I'm right here with you. I just want you to pop into the chat some words that describe how you're feeling about your child starting school, and we will just call some of those out as they come through. Don't be shy. Points go to the first person to reply.
Well, I wonder, Charlotte, how are you feeling? Because you're a mum that's got a school starter too. So I wonder if you could add something in there as well. What are your feelings?
You know what? I have mixed feelings. I think other people here have mixed feelings as well. So I am excited for her. I'm a bit sad for myself because she's my last child. So my preschool era is over and that makes me emotional. But the other things, other people are saying mixed feelings.
Mixed, excited, anxious, uncertain, worried. My baby is going to school. Absolutely. You are all there together, I think, in these mixed emotions. Absolutely. I haven't got there yet, guys. My toddler is starting a school nursery in September, which isn't quite the same. So I'm a year behind you with regards to these emotions. So this is all really good in preparation for me. I'm giving myself quite a long way to get ready.
I think overall it seems like anxious and excited. Most people have a bit of everything.
Absolutely. So before we get into the work today, I wanted to start by doing a little bit of an activity with you. So for this, I'm going to ask you to be really brave and stand up with me. All right, I want you to kind of stand up with me. You might have been wondering, why is she standing up? But I want you just to stand up with me because we're going to train for sitting. Now, this is something that is good for big humans and small, and it's all around shifting your physiology in order to shift your mind and your emotions, because all of the emotions that we have drive the actions that we take. And looking at those emotions that we're experiencing when it comes to the starting of our children at school, then we've got a little bit of shifting to do. So if you're able to, please do put those cameras on, stand up with me. And I just want to take you through a little activity that is going to really help you and your children to shift any feelings of discomfort when it comes to starting school, and actually anything else as well. So this works with all different things. So if you're able to, then stand up with me, turn those cameras on, and I just want you to take a moment, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, come on, guys, stand up. And I want you just to take note, a little bit of a personal check-in first. Where is your balance? So if your feet are like fist width apart, where is your balance? Are you feeling that you're leaning forwards? Are you feeling you're leaning backwards? Does one foot feel like it's taking your weight a little bit more than the other? Just take a note. You can pop in the chat if you want to. Let me know how are you feeling in terms of internal balance? And I'm going to share with you a little activity that's going to shift that. Okay, Charlotte's feeling it on her heels. Daisy, where are you feeling it? Where are you feeling it? Okay.
Like I'm in the feeling it through like the middle of my body, but I've also got dinner down my top, so I'm trying to hide that.
It's all right, we don't mind a bit of dinner down the top. We're parents, we wear food regularly, right? Okay, so we've got another one on heels. Okay, great. So keep it going, guys. Don't be shy. Give it a go. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of an activity here, and I want you just to remember where it was when you started. Okay, so I'm going to ask you just to tilt your feet inward slightly so that your big toes are kind of just saying hello, but still a fist width apart. Okay, and what this does is it aligns the spine. All right, so we're really helping communication from our brain all the way through, and it supports the nervous system and everything that we have within us. So we're just going to tilt them inwards, okay? Not too much, we don't want to fall over. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to give a big thumbs up to everyone. Okay, so give yourself a thumbs up and then turn it to the side. Because what I want you to do is I then want you to give me a thumbs down. And this is the only thumbs down that we want this evening, and pop it towards the back of your eyes on your temples. Okay, you probably didn't think you were going to be doing a little mini workout with me today, but I promise you there is a science behind everything I do. Okay, so we're just going to move our arms backwards and forwards, keeping those feet slightly turned in. Okay, and I'm going to put a little bit of music on as we do this. I don't know whether it's going to work. We've had a little bit of music struggle, but we're going to try it anyway. Okay, so we're just going to go for it. It doesn't need to be really quick. We're just going for it, and it might feel really uncomfortable to begin with. Okay, but it's all right, because practice makes progress. So once we've done that, now I normally get people to do like 35, but I'm not going to get you to do that many. We're then going to bring them out, still kind of with our thumbs out. I don't know if you can see, like an aeroplane. Keep those feet in place. I'm just going round forwards first of all. You might start feeling a little bit warm. Might just be me. All the way around. Okay, and again around 30, 35, but we're going to go back the other way, keeping those feet turned in, guys. And if those cameras are off, I hope you're doing this just at home anyway. Okay. The next one is a simple pushing out, getting those hands together and then pushing up. Keeping those feet in place, just looking up at your fingers. And again, it's a lovely stretch for the back. Okay, now this next one is going to be the best, and I'm going to pause the music for this. This is the best ab workout that you're going to be able to do. Okay, you're going to put 1 foot forwards and 1 foot back like this. And you're just going to move your arms. We're going to race on the spot for a moment, okay? You might be thinking, what is all this about? But I promise you, at the end, when you check your balance, you will understand why I'm getting you to do this. Okay, so are we ready? Charlotte, Daisy, you ready? You ready to rock? Let's go. Super quick.
Lots of people joining in, Sam.
Awesome. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Okay. Swap feet. Swap them around. And off we go. Super quick. Go, go, go. Best ab work you will have done today. I promise. Okay. Is anyone else feeling a bit warm? All right, take a big breath in and a big breath out, and again in and again out. Okay, now put your feet back to facing forwards. I just want you to close your eyes for a moment with me and check in. Now, some of you might feel a big shift, some of you might feel a small shift, but the idea here is that your balance is edging towards becoming centered. Does anyone feel a shift? Can I see in the chat box? Is anyone saying, yeah, a little bit, or no, not feeling it yet? Let's hear it in the chat box. Pop it out there. Okay, has it moved from your heels to your toes? Has it moved to 1 foot or another? What have we got? Oh, we've got some more people coming in. Okay, so all of this, yes, more centered. Lovely, awesome. Fab, definitely moved from heels forward. Great. Okay, anyone else? Yes, fab. Now, this was a really simple and quick activity that you can do with your children, no matter how big or small they are. Okay, definitely. Great, thank you. Now, this has not only got you moving a little bit, but it's really aligned your spine. So it aids that internal communication system. So it gets you ready for sitting, because it is a sport. It is something that we are not necessarily built to do. But if we shift our physiology we always can shift our emotions. Are we feeling good? Is anyone feeling like better than when they started? I know I am. I'm like, yes. So when we do this with our children, it's really useful. It's something that we use in the classrooms when we are working with the schools that are doing the behaviour balance system, and it really does help both at home and in the settings as well. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Let's get going. Oh, thanks
Sorry.
for sharing that, Kate.
I couldn't
Charlotte, are you
unmute.
ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm still out of breath.
Just still
Okay,
working on a round up there. Like.
So,
Take a drink, guys. Take a drink.
I know this already from all of the kind of the advertising or the links that you've seen already, the introduction on when you came through the booking. But obviously, we're going to be talking about what we perceive to be like the foundational skills for learning and the things that you want to start with. Basically, we don't want you to have to do all of the scrolling of all of the things and work out what you need to do to get your kids ready. We just want to give you the answers right here. But I would love it if you could just pop some ideas in the chat box, again, of some of the things that you think you might need to do to get your child ready for school. I'm just very quickly, because I'm mindful of time as well, just going to share some of those ideas. And then we're going to tell you what we think that you should be doing. And if you have different ideas from us, that's great. You know your kids the best. We're just going to tell you what we think kind of scientifically works for the majority of kids as well. So you can take whatever you want from our ideas and some of your own, and that would be great. So what do people think that they need to be doing to get their kids ready for school? Getting them
toileting straight up there. Yes.
Listening to instructions, teaching conversation starters, preparing them to use the toilet, building confidence in making friendships. Lots of this is coming up again and again.
Absolutely.
Being able to get dressed, do their shoes up, making friends, getting dressed, lots of similar things over and over again. Tell them what they can expect during the school day, being resilient, teaching self-care, being on shoes independently. Ooh, lots of lovely ideas, patience, sharing with other children. We are going to be covering so much of this stuff. We are going to be talking about toileting today. For anyone who's sitting there thinking, my child can't toilet independently, and this is freaking me out, don't worry, your child does not have to be able to toilet independently, particularly if they have any additional needs that means that they can't do that yet. You can ask those questions later if they come up. We are going to have time for Q&A, but I think the rest of the stuff is covered in our chat today. So that's great. Let's crack on.
Awesome. Okay, so one of the things that we think about a lot is getting our children academically ready. And I have had this conversation, and I can see lots of mixed kind of ideas in the chat here. I've had this conversation so often with parents, but I always say to parents that we don't go to French class already knowing French. What we want to do is go to French class eager to learn it, really enthusiastic and really excited and ready to learn. So that's what our session today and our online sessions are all about, is being learning ready, okay, and kind of able to take on that next step, able to take on that challenge. I can see resilience popped up here. So all of those things that enable us to learn, that is really the foundation of everything that we're doing today, and that we are covering both in Daisy's book and our online program. So let's have a think about why that is. Now, when we are in the classroom or at home, one of the things that we automatically want to go to is that learning brain. We really want our children to learn their numbers, to write their name, to know their sounds, to learn to read, all of these amazing things. And absolutely, these are important. These are so important. We want that. But what we really need is for our children to first have their survival needs met, then their emotional needs met, because without those two, the learning is not possible. It's built on rocky foundations, which means that everything they're absorbing is there for a little while, not a long time, okay? So what we want to do is we want to make sure our children know how to make themselves feel safe, make sure that they know their own needs, how to meet them, how to ask about it, and then they're able to learn more effectively. And this is what we're going to focus on as we go through today, is how to do that really, really well at home in preparation for September.
So we all know what we want our goal to be for our kids. We want these children who are positive, they have positive mental health and well-being, they have positive social relationships, and they're achieving academically. Like that's where we're headed towards. But we need to start with some solid foundations first, hence the title for today's webinar. So what we really need to think about is making sure our children are well supported in these areas. And we're going to cover these 4 areas today. So we're going to think about nurturing their physical development. We're going to talk about cultivating emotional resilience, also building social skills and friendships, and fostering a growth mindset.
And we're going to start with the physical aspect. And as I said before, physiology always comes first. So when we're talking about our physical development, it not only is important for the gross motor skills, fine motor skills, coordination and things like that, but it also has a knock-on effect. And it really does support all the other areas that we want our children to have success in. So let's have a look at what that really means. Thinking about the neural connections within the brain and the impact that physical movement has, it has a huge impact on our children's cognitive development, and that is their development in terms of learning, their brain development, their brain growth, the neuroplasticity within their brain. So that is really how malleable it is, how much it can soak in, how much it can hold. I always refer to it as the bandwidth, okay, and how many new skills our children can learn. It also impacts things like our social and emotional development. So making friends and things like that, it all comes from that physical development first. So when we're talking about that, we are really impacting that independence, that exploration, and that participation when they get into the classroom. So if we can make sure that we are covering our physical development and our physical needs first, we know that those 3 areas of independence, exploration, and participation are going to be okay by the time they get into September and into school. And Daisy, I'm going to hand over to you to tackle the bum wiping.
The amount of messages I get just saying bum wiping.
Yes.
And do you know what? That's absolutely fine by me, because I think it's a really big concern for lots of parents. And I know what this is like, especially because both my children were summer babies. They're May, June born, and at this time of year they were still like just turned 4. And I was thinking, wow, they're going to be out on their own at school without me to check that little bottom each time, and what the heck's going to happen when they get into school. So what I did with my 2 over the course of the summer before they started school was start to teach them to do that independently. And this is just one idea of many that you can do. My advice is, if you're having any real trouble with anything toileting, is to contact the charity Eric. They are fantastic, and they are all things toileting. So I can put that link up on my Instagram stories later today if you're worried at all. But what I used to do was the 3x3 method. You can see 3x3 rule I've written on the little toilet paper in that corner. And here's how it works. So I said to my children, every time you go for a number 2, we're going to do 3x3. We're going to get 3 bits of tissue paper. This is to stop the unraveling of a whole roll. And we're going to do that 3 times. For the first couple of weeks, I said, you have a go at wiping yourself once, and mummy will do the other 2. And I would model it each time what I was doing, taking the toilet paper, doing the other 2. When they got sort of into the hang of it and they could sort of reach around and they were getting it right, I then swapped that over. So I would say, you do 2, and when you think you've done it and it's clean, then mummy will come and check and do the other 1. And we swapped it over, but it was still sort of 3x3. Now, obviously, that's not every single time. You might need to do some extra ones here and there, but you can talk to them about that as you're going. And it just gives them that nice setup. I think 3 wipes is better than 0, which seems to often happen with mine. And I think that's a nice sort of starting point to have those conversations. So if you say 3x3, they do the first 1, then you do 2, then you swap that over. Then hopefully after a few weeks of that, by the time you get round to them starting school, they will have something in place that they can remember when they are independently using the loo in school. And then you can obviously follow that on with, and now we wash our hands and flush the chain as well, while you're in there supporting them with that to try and get that going.
Awesome. And it is all those little routines that need the practice, isn't it? Because sometimes they do forget to wash their hands, they do forget to flush the chain, and it is so important. So thinking about our physical development, looking at gross motor skills, one of the easiest and simplest things that we can do with our children is just get them moving in different ways. And as you can see in the pictures here, this is something that I did with my son last week. We've got these like rubber cutout things, and he was playing and doing different patterns on the floor, so some hands and feet and jumping and things like that. But when we're looking at gross motor skills, it has such an impact on all of the things that I mentioned before. So setting up an obstacle course, doing some floor play, all of those sorts of things have a really big impact. You know, it could be even something like crawling around, you know, crawling under the table or jumping onto the pillows, running around like that. Those sorts of things are really, really great to get involved in at home. And then, of course, looking at the fine motor skills element, we've got things like Play-Doh, which can be great fun, but also a little bit off-putting for some children and parents, I know. So things like cutting or ripping up paper, sticking, you know, drawing or playing with paint, all forms of messy play I'm a fan of, but I know that not everyone is. But anything that is to do with those fingers and that eye coordination is really, really great here. And then the final one that I wanted to share on this slide was getting outdoors, because our children can do so much and explore so much independently when they're outside. So whether that is in the garden or at the local park, or local woods or what have you, getting outdoors and even kind of building dens and things like that is a great way to really support them in developing that physical side. Does anyone want to add anything there?
I just wanted to say that the game, you can see my two children playing with the foil and the Play-Doh is a specific fine motor skill game that you can find on my website called Crack the Egg, and that is, like you were saying, about getting them using their fingers. So I wrapped stuff in foil and then in Play-Doh. You could just do the foil if you're not a fan of Play-Doh, to get them opening and using those little fingers. And we use letters or numbers at the same time, but you could do it with anything, shapes or pictures or whatever you like.
Absolutely, love that. I think I saw on your Instagram actually that you were making shoes and things with foil. So you're avid foil fans in your house, aren't you?
Foil is my foil and masking tape are my two
love it
that I have in the house all times.
Absolutely love it. And actually,
on your marks, get set, go.
This is your house.
Here's a game to play. So this is called,
oh, look at him go, slime, go, rub yours out quick, get your socky on your hand like that mummy is.
So this is a game I play with my children when it's just about to start school.
Let it go.
Drawn in chalk on the floor, and then they had to put the socks on their hands, try and rub it out. But the idea of the game was getting them to put their socks on their hands and feet. But they thought, you know, and it was to help them practice that skill of opening up the sock and getting it on, so that they could put their own socks and shoes on. But they just thought it was a fun game to try and rub out the chalk. And I also got some letter practice in there because I was writing their names out for them, so they were rubbing out their, you know, the letters of their names, which is actually mark making a letter formation. But they don't know that. They think they're just playing silly game. Mummy let them draw all over the floor.
I love it. And actually that's gross motor skills right there as well, you know. So we've got those big muscle movements and the putting on of clothes. It's amazing. I love it. And Daisy, we're back at your house.
And we
My old house.
Do you want to share this one?
This is the coat flip. So this is a way to teach your children to put their coats on independently, if you like. You can get them to lie their coat down with the hood facing you, and then put their arms into it and flip it over their head. It was just a nice way to play something fun that taught my little boy Ewan, who's 4 here, about you're going to have to do this yourself when you go to school. And I know lots of preschools and nurseries teach them this as well. It's just a great way to sort of start them on that independent dressing, looking after yourself, but in a really fun way. So that's the coat flip. And then here's a picture of my little boy's school shoes. And I just got a a nice sticker it was one of those squidgy ones that you can get in Hobbycraft, and I cut it in half and put one in the left, one in the right, so that he could match those up himself and know which foot went into which shoe. So he could go into school knowing those skills and feeling really confident in himself. He could do that, and that gave him a lot of confidence when we were on this kind of preparation in leading into school, that we were teaching him exciting new things that he was going to get to use when he was on his own in the classroom.
I love that. And it is really about empowering them, isn't it? So that they walk through that gate feeling, I've got this, you know, I can do this, I can put on my coat, I can do anything.
Exactly that, exactly.
Charlotte, do you want to talk through emotional resilience?
I steered out of the way of the physical development stuff because as a speech and language therapist, I don't feel like that's my bag. But we're going to move on to emotional resilience now. So this is all about helping children to manage their emotions, cope with separation anxiety, and build a sense of belonging in the school environment. So if we think back to that image that Sam put up of the Russian dolls and the 3 kinds of brain, what we're really aiming to do with this one is help children to feel safe and secure, both physically safe, but also emotionally safe, so that they then can be ready for learning. Because if children are not feeling safe, then they're going to use all of their energy trying to manage that, and they're not going to be able to be ready for learning. So really, like, this is a really important starting point.
And let's have a look at why that is. So when we're thinking about emotional resilience, and we hear it a lot, we hear, you know, grown-ups talking about children being so resilient, but actually resilience is something that they have to develop, just like everything else. A lot of the time we talk about resilience, but actually it's just tolerance. They're just kind of getting through. But what we want them to have is that true resilience. So this can help with smooth transactions and transitions in terms of transactions. Like, I'm thinking that they're off to the shops buying their own clothes, not just putting them on. Smooth transitions, those academic challenges as well, when it comes to anything that is out of their day-to-day or out of their comfort zone. We want them to be able to tackle that challenge knowing that they can do it, that they can have a go, and if they get it wrong and they fail at it, then brilliant, it means they're trying something new. So really kind of supporting that. It impacts the engagement they have with their peers, and those interactions can be really tough, can't they, with friendships and things. So it's really, really important that we support and nurture that element of resilience, so that they know that just because a friend, you know, is not their friend right now, it doesn't mean that that's it. Full stop. I actually had a conversation with my son really recently when I picked him up from nursery, and he turned around and he'd said to his friend, "You're not my friend anymore." And what he really meant was, "I'm not playing with you anymore, I'm going home with mummy," because he just hadn't made that link of that's the game had finished. So it's really helping with those sides of things. And then, of course, the emotional regulation. And we often talk about emotional regulation. It's something that we delve massively into when we go into the online program that Charlotte was mentioning earlier. And in fact, Kate's shared it, and I think we've already got a couple of people that have downloaded it. So thank you so much. That's awesome. And when we're thinking about regulation, it really is building that skill set up and supporting them in modeling it. Self-confidence and self-esteem, my goodness, massively impacted here in how we cultivate that emotional resilience. And all of it together really does build positive, healthy mental health and well-being strategies for the long run. So lots to really cram in there for this topic.
So one of the big things that we have seen be a kind of a point of anxiety for young children is that they don't really understand what's going to happen. And I think that came up in the chat already a couple of times when we were talking about what we need to teach our children, is kind of like knowing what to expect, what's actually going to happen. And a lot of the time we use quite abstract language when it comes to school, and we use phrases like, "Oh, you're off to big school, how does it feel?" And even if that's not just you as parents, my experience is that, you know, when other people see my kids, they're like, "Oh, Archie, you're off to big school." And big school doesn't mean anything in particular to kids. In fact, when Archie was 6 months away from going to big school, I started to unpick, And he thought that big school was one giant big school where all of these kids go. So his cousins went to big school, the kids who used to be at nursery with him, they went to big school, and he thought this was just one big abstract place. And it was a confusing and overwhelming thing, because he thought this must be a really big school to accommodate all of these other kids who are primary school age. So we need to think about the language that we use to try and combat this. So what we can do to help our kids is to just really think about being concrete. And any of you who know me, maybe you follow me or you're friends with me, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of visual supports. So visual supports basically means anything that you can show your child to help them either express themselves or understand. And when we show children things, they just have a much better handle on what it is that we're talking about. So the sorts of things that you can be showing your children in the lead up to school to help them understand and anticipate what will happen are things like objects and photos of what the school looks like, maybe who will be at the school, what the classroom looks like, what they might wear, those sorts of things. And I think somebody also mentioned like what might happen during the school day. So you could draw out pictures if you know the rough timetable of what will happen, or if you want to talk to them about what's going to happen at lunchtime, then some schools do have downloadable food menus, and some of those have pictures on. And if they don't, then even just sort of seeing it, and you could maybe draw some of the pictures out, or you could look up pictures of what the lunch options are going to be if they're not readily available to you. All of that stuff is really going to help your child to feel a bit more safe and secure, and like there's less of an unknown. Now, some of you came to us through the Bespoke Family podcast, and we did say that if you signed up, you'd get a bonus tool sent to you. We've actually just decided to give it to all of you, because we think that it's helpful for everyone. So that's going to be this starting school scavenger hunt up here. So it's something that you can do with your kids to help them find their school uniform, their school shoes, school coat, etc. You can read the rest of it, but just as a really nice activity that you can do with them so that they can see what sort of things are going to be involved in school. So we're thinking really about cultivating emotional resilience, not only on the day here, but in that lead up. And, you know, the summer holidays, if any of them are finishing nursery in the next couple of weeks, that's a really long time to kind of be dwelling on this idea of big school coming up. So doing something proactive can be really helpful.
Magic in your hand.
Right, can we pause that, Sam? Can I pause it? Can you pause the video for a second so I can
I
explain?
can. Oh, here we go.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. What, just to follow on from what Charlotte was saying there, we did an activity where I walked the children to school in the summer holidays. So we walked there. We kind of did the school run when it was all shut and quiet, and we looked at the gates, and I said, can you tell me 5 things that you can see on the building? So it felt familiar. And then we walked home again. I had some chocolate buttons, like a little treat, and we walked home chatting about it. And that kind of activity, like you say, something concrete, they can actually go and see where it is and where they're going. And you kind of do, this is the walk or the, you know, the journey we're going to do to school every day. Let's point out some things we can see that are still going to be here, you know, a big tree or a house with a blue door. That was really helpful for my kids in helping them really get a picture of what it was going to be like. So I just wanted to move on to that reducing anxiety. Lots of you might have heard of this, but we started doing magic hand hearts really early on. This is me talking to Ewan about what they are and why we have them. So if you want to play that, Sam. It's self-explanatory.
Right, and then what happens is these hearts are connected together. See? And when you press your heart, press it, it sends a cuddle to Mummy. And when I press my heart, it sends a cuddle to you. And it goes like this. I watched it. So if you feel sad or worried, then you can press your magic heart. And Mummy can send one back and say, watch it. Yeah, it works. So I send one to you. You ready? Yeah. Magic heart. How to watch.
I absolutely love this, and this is something that has, you know, that has made a difference for so many families. It really has, and I use it with my son when he has, you know, massive kind of trouble going into nursery on some days, and we use the hearts quite a lot, and you can use it at bedtime. Like, this is such a transferable activity, isn't it, Daisy? And it really does make such a difference.
Yeah, it really does. And it kind of goes hand in hand with a book called The Invisible String. I don't know if you've ever read that. And it's about how we're still connected, even though we are apart. And that leads me on to some other book recommendations. I have loads and loads of book recommendations. I love books for helping explore our emotions and feelings with our children, because it's really about getting to the bottom of what's worrying them. And I think that's why the heart's really helpful, is because that then gives you the opportunity to discuss what is the reason you pressed that heart today. What was it that upset you? Why did you send it to me? And it just opens up that opportunity to discuss those emotions. And these two books do exactly that as well. And I found them particularly helpful with one of my children who finds emotions come at her thick and fast, and she expresses them in a really big way, and sometimes that's through anger or frustration. And we got both of these books, and they helped us enormously for her to get that vocabulary to match an emotion to a word, and to help talk about it. So In My Heart explains the emotions really, really clearly. It's a beautiful book, and talks through them, how it actually feels inside for that child, how those feels. And then the How Are You Feeling Today book is great, because what that does is it takes those emotions that they've identified, and then it gives you ideas and strategies for how you can help soothe perhaps anxiety, or tackle anger, or cope with sadness. And it gives you like 6 or 7 strategies on each page of things, ideas and things you could try that might help you when you're feeling that way. And obviously they're not going to help in the moment when a child is feeling particularly upset or particularly angry. But if you can have those calm discussions at bedtime, when they're quiet, when they're feeling happy to chat with you, you can have those little chats, and you find it starts to filter in to those conversations that you're having. And this is especially helpful when they start school, that first term. They're very tired, it's very full on, and if they can just have a few of those little words, and you can say, I say to my daughter, how's your heart feeling? And she gets the book and she flicks to the page, and she'll just show me. She won't even say it, she'll just show me something sometimes, and I can say, okay, I understand now, I understand. How about, have a cuddle, or should we get the other book? Or, and then you can respond to that in that way. So these are 2 books that I really recommend for those fraught, difficult times, and how to cope with them.
They are fantastic books, aren't they? And if anyone does want book recommendations, all 3 of us, I'm sure, have got quite the library to share with regards to books. It really is a great way to engage with your children, especially around feelings that are so abstract in concept. So some really lovely ones that you can share there. Now, before we move on, we have hit 10 people with the downloads on the online program, which is very exciting. So thank you so much, guys. That's awesome. And with everything that we've shared you, I just wanted to give a quick pause before we move into building social skills and friendships, just to jot down anything that you have come to mind, or anything that you want to before we move into looking at building social skills and friendships. So just take a moment, just jot anything down, share any questions in the chat box, guys. Do share kind of your thoughts. We've got a couple of people saying here, the heart idea is really cute, and they're going to use it with their little boy, which is great. And we've got some great recommendations here on books. So fab, thank you so much for sharing. Charlotte, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Daisy's example there of where her daughter's gone to the book and pointed to the picture is another great example of a use of a visual support. So sometimes children need to have access to different kinds of communication systems, even if they can speak, because sometimes, particularly when we are feeling dysregulated, it's really hard for all children to necessarily access those spoken words. So that's why it's really great to have visuals up around the house, access to books, and you model how you could use those as well. So you kind of, taking the time to share your emotions and point to the relevant way, the relevant emotion for you, can just be a really nice way to show that you accept all forms of communication within your home, and it's okay if they can't verbally communicate that with you the whole time. But as adults, we need to kind of show how that would work as well.
Absolutely. We're getting some questions through. Great, thank you so much, guys. Keep them coming. Kate, someone has said that the course link isn't working for them, so if you could just jump on and support that person, that'd be great. Charlotte, do you want to get going with our building of social skills and friendships?
Yeah, we have got another question there, but I think if we can just hold that one till Q&A at the end, and we'll come to that if we have time. It's definitely something that we cover in our online program. Sorry, I've lost the name of it.
But I can cover that as well at the end. I've literally got a page open here with that exact question. So if we get to time, then we can get to that later.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep the questions coming, because we are absolutely going to answer all of them. So if they pop into your mind, then do share it.
So we're going to move on now to building social skills and friendships. So this is all about kind of communication and social interaction. And we know there's so much evidence to show that children who are well supported in this area go on to be successful adults in many ways. So successful in terms of their peer relationships, their social relationships in general, successful in terms of their academic achievement, successful in terms of their mental health and well-being. But the key thing here is that they need to be well supported. So let's have a look and see why we're kind of focusing on this a bit more. So when children go to school, obviously they're learning to navigate different and new social situations, so different social environments with different people, and that's both their peers and their adults. So they might need some support with that. It takes a lot of skills, including things like listening, cooperation, and problem solving skills. But Sam and I have a mantra that we like to use a lot, which is that practice makes progress. So children aren't necessarily going to get this right on the first day of school, but our job as parents is to be there to kind of help work through this with them. We know that having kind of friendships is important, and that some children will need more support with that than others. But the benefits of having friends and people that they consider to be their friends is that it will give them a positive sense of self-worth, builds their confidence, and their ideas of self-belonging in terms of like being part of the school community. And it's going to have a positive impact on their emotional well-being and their mental health. We also know that when children establish positive relationships with their peers and adults, those people can help them out at times when they need emotional regulation. So children don't just automatically, you may have heard this kind of buzz phrase that's around at the moment, all about self-regulation. That actually is something that's quite a hard skill to do. To regulate yourself is really hard. And actually that starts with what we call co-regulation. So kind of feeding off what other people give you to help you calm down. You can't necessarily just do it by yourself. And if you establish positive relationships with your peers and your grown-ups who are in school with you, they'll know a bit more about how they can help you in those times when you need to regulate. So it kind of covers everything here, guys. As I said, we're looking at mental health, we're thinking about academic achievement, we're thinking about kind of having a positive experience of school. So that's why we're covering it. And let's tell you some ideas of how you can get started.
Awesome. We've just had a couple of people having some trouble with that link. So Kate's on it, guys. Just keep, if you need to get in touch with her, then please do. She is on the case. So please don't worry. We will share it again and help you with that.
Sorry, I'm so busy looking for the link. I forgot that I'm in still.
No, don't worry. Kate,
it's Kate.
She's on it.
So Daisy, do you want to chat first, or shall I go first?
Yeah, I think it was me, wasn't it? I can't remember now. So a couple of the strategies that you might want to get started on all those kind of big words that Charlotte was talking about, lots of really interesting and important things. But there's something really simple that we can teach our children to just get that started, and it's the little picture you can see in the bottom, and it's a little girl saying, "What's your name?" Now I think for lots of us as adults, we sort of think that children have this inbuilt ability to go and make friends. Like we'll often say to them, won't we, when there's a big crowd of kids, go make some friends, and we assume that they understand what that means and how to do that, and it's not always the case. Sometimes they need a bit of guidance, and a good way to guide them to start off is to sort of to explain to them why saying what's your name and finding out somebody's name is the very beginning of starting to get to know somebody. So if you know somebody's name and they know yours, then you can start talking to each other. And it's about sort of starting off that asking a question if they feel comfortable with it, modeling that with them, sitting with them and doing it with somebody new. So you might meet somebody, I'm just exampling, this gives you a bit of an insight into my lifestyle, but if we're at the pub and there's a play area, and I would go over with my daughter and say, there's some children playing there, should we go and see if you want to play with them? And I would just say, what's your name? And they often reply, and then I would sort of start her off and show her how you can get to know people and perhaps make friends. And there's just one technique that you might want to try. That's a picture from my book, and that sort of starts children off on that journey of what's your name and what it leads into. Charlotte, do you want to carry on with the
yeah, I think
communication methods?
Yeah, we just talked about how there might be different phrases that work for different kids, as Daisy mentioned. So another alternative might just be like, can I play? And then some that actually are more aimed at actually them talking to the adults in their class as well. And these can be really important ones to really think about and role play and practice. Again, practice makes progress throughout the summer holidays. So one, your child being able to advocate for themselves if they don't understand. Equally, just being able to say yes, consent to things, and say no, protest against things. Teaching those sorts of skills can be really fundamental, and help is a really powerful word. And I know that Daisy's going to talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. But something that I just wanted to mention there is that I know that some of you have reached out who are here today and your children are nonverbal, or some of you may have children who can speak, but actually, you know, they find it difficult in new situations. So again, just thinking of this idea of really letting them know that all communication is welcome, and you know, maybe liaising with the school as well to make sure that they're giving that same message to your child, and thinking about how you can maybe help your child to communicate some of these things if you don't feel like they're going to be able to verbally communicate things. So thinking about whether or not you could maybe teach them some Makaton signs, that's a really great starting point. Maybe thinking about whether or not they might be able to take in a lanyard with some pictures on, and they can show the right picture to the people. They might have something more sophisticated like a communication aid, but just thinking not only about, you know, like words that, you know, typical vocabulary for a 4-year-old, actually thinking about really functional words and making sure that your child has the opportunity to communicate some things that are really important to them, particularly at this time of change, is quite an important thing to be doing over the summer. And in terms of help, I know that Daisy has a page in her book, which I think she's going to share with you next.
It's on this page. So this is from my starting school book, and it's just one of the skills that we talk through that you can sort of model out for your child. And I think the key thing to do over the summer holidays as you're preparing your kids for this is to just step back. So I think often what happens is, you know, kids putting on their coat, and because they're, you know, doing it, and you just step in and you'll do it for them, because that's what we do as nice parents. We're looking after our child, right? We step in and do it for them. And actually, what would be really helpful for your child this summer is to not do that and just to let them have a go. And then if they're struggling, talk to them about saying, would you like some help? And saying to them, you can always ask me for help. If you ask, I will happily help you. And likewise, when you go to school, if you ask your teachers or some of the adults, if you need help, they will help you too. They're there to help you. Just little reminders, anytime you like, anytime you're helping them with their shoe, helping them with something, you can just throw in those little reminders throughout the summer, and that will just help give them that confidence to know it's okay to ask. So it's just about stepping back. And then what I like to do with my children, I've got a flow chart somewhere, I'll see if I can dig it out, but it was basically like a mocked up conversation where I would say, oh, you know, you can ask me for help. And I would sort of encourage them to actually say the words, and I say, you can go ahead, go and ask me. And then they would say, oh, mummy, can you help me? And I say, yes, of course I can. And just give them that real confidence to know it's okay to ask, and you will get the help that you need, especially in school. And this just kind of, you can see on this page, it's just kind of some examples of those conversations to help children understand what it looks like. Oh, and by the way, I put regularly remind even the older ones, because my children went to an Easter camp, and I picked them up, and my eldest, who is 8, said, "Oh, I'm so thirsty, I haven't had a drink since lunchtime because my water ran out." And I said, "Did you not ask them to refill it?" And he said, "No." And I was absolutely mind blown that he didn't even think to ask. So regular reminders, even for the older ones, is a really useful thing to do, and it's something I'm definitely taking on board and making sure I remind them that they can ask adults for help if they need it.
Absolutely. And I think this is a really, just to bring back some physiology here, I think one of the biggest things is that there's so much going on in their minds that they can't necessarily take that next step. So it sounds a little bit, you know, oh, breathe, but when we can see that our children need help, or that they're getting frustrated or, you know, irritated or what have you, and are struggling to ask or say what they need, getting them to take a big breath and then ask for help as part of the practice outside of that time is really, really useful, because it quite literally engages the parts of the brain that is necessary. I mean, my mum always used to say to me growing up, you know, engage brain before mouth, Samantha. And actually there is a science behind, I'm not sure if she knew it, but there is a science behind that. You know, we do need to take a big breath and then ask for help. So when you model that to your children, "Can you help me please?" is a really good way to do it, because it naturally then encourages them to take a breath, and that allows the part of the brain with language to open up and get involved, which is exactly what we want, isn't it, guys? Daisy, do you want to talk through this, because this is an amazing little activity.
It is. I was wondering if anyone in the chat could have a guess as to what these blocks are, because they are not blocks. They are not. No. So this is an activity that I set out for my children on a windowsill. These blocks are set up like this, and believe it or not, it's a play activity for starting school, but it just looks like I plonked a few blocks. Does anyone want to have a guess and tell me what they think those 5 blocks might be? Click in the chat to see if anybody...
Pop it in the chat, guys. Let's see.
I was going to ask you two, but you guys know.
I do. It wouldn't be a fair game.
I forgot. I was going to put this up on my Instagram as well this week, see if anyone else wanted to have a little guess. It's a nice activity to do. Anyone have a guess? Nobody's guessing. Nobody has a clue. Everyone's like,
nobody's sure. Everyone's thinking, oh my goodness.
I will let you know. So these blocks represent, on the left you can see the orange.
Oh, we have a guess. In Abby's house they would be Paw Patrol figures. Perfect. So that is a brilliant example, because it just shows they can be anything, and to a child they would be whatever they want to see. So I've kind of set this up so the thing on the left with the cylinder is the school, and the thing on the right is the 2 little blocks. There's an orange one for me with my ginger hair, there's a wooden one for my daughter with her blonde hair, and then we've got a red car. So that's our red car. And the plan was that if my child came to that and saw it and asked me what it was, I would tell them that's what it was. I said, "Oh, look, it's Mummy and Flo going to the school. Here we go. We're driving along. We've arrived at school. Yay!" And then Flo's going to go, Mummy's going to drive home and go to work. And that's enough. But that's how an example of how we can get role play into how we can get things that they're going to be doing in school into their play. So you could set up something like this with blocks, or it could be with dolls, it could be with cars, it could be with whatever your child is interested in. If you spend 5 minutes joining in with their play, getting down on their level, doesn't have to be long, and just kind of gently trying out a few little, "Oh, do you think Marshall and Chase are going to go to school? Do you think they're getting ready for school like you are? Where would their school be? What kind of school would they go to?" And then you can let your child totally take the lead. Now they might say, "No, they're not going to school," and that's their shutdown. That's fine. Let them do that. Or they might pick that up and run with it and take them on a little adventure off to school. And you just follow that lead, but it gives you an opportunity to have a little kind of insight into what they're thinking. Perhaps something might pop up that you didn't even realize, a concern or a worry, and it will just be something you can log in the back of your head to perhaps ask them about another time, or you can address it there and then if you feel like they're in the right mood to do that. But by having these little role play moments for 5 minutes and putting them into play and letting your child lead them and come to them independently
of their own accord is what will give you some really nice time side by side playing with them. It'll open up some of those conversations. Blocks is a really good one. I have these blocks still. They are from my child's first birthday, and I still use them now with a 7-9-year-old sometimes to start play, to use them for other bits of play. They are a brilliant open-ended toy, and a perfect example of how you don't need to have fancy stuff at home to do this kind of thing. You can use what you already have, and you've got a whole world of possibilities to start those conversations with your kids. Okay, next slide.
Lovely, thank you. I think the only thing that we were going to say is, if your children do struggle with kind of envisaging other things as blocks or what have you, and this is actually something that you mentioned the other day, Charlotte, wasn't it? You can use things like dolls and puppets that are a little bit more in line with what the you know, the actual thing looks like, or you know, act it out with things like characters, because that might be a bit more of a connection point for some children, if they find this concept a little bit tricky. I think that's what you were saying the other day, wasn't it, Charlotte? Have I got that right?
Yeah, definitely. I know that some of the families that I've spoken with, the children aren't yet at the stage where they could maybe necessarily kind of really use these blocks to represent something quite different from what they are. So if your child is more concrete, I think Daisy's already mentioned it there, just use whatever play or toys your kid is interested in and find a way just to incorporate it in there. So don't again be fazed by this. If your kid's not going to be able to do this with the blocks or wouldn't be interested to do this, that's fine. All kids are different.
Oh.
So we're moving on to our final section, which is all about fostering a growth mindset. We're going to think about this a little bit from the perspective of both the children and you as parents as well. So growth mindset is the belief that intelligence, abilities and talents can be developed and improved through effort, practice, perseverance and learning from our mistakes. And I think it really ties in with that mantra that I mentioned before of practice makes progress. And we need to really kind of believe that and help our children to have that mantra as well. So help install that mantra in our children. So that's why we wanted to cover that today.
Absolutely. And when we're thinking about this and we're thinking about the concept of growth mindset, it was actually something that was developed by a psychologist, Carol Dweck, I think it was. And it really is about being able to understand that they can do things even when they don't think they can, and kind of that reframing. And not only does that impact the day-to-day things that they might find challenging, but also as they go through the educational journey, it has such an impact, because when they find something tough, sometimes it's kind of human nature just to step back and say, I can't do it, you know, but actually giving them the idea of a growth mindset and the fact that their brain is always growing and always able to tackle any challenge, it really does allow them to embrace the challenges, have that persistence in effort and keep going, and learn from the feedback they get, you know. Certainly as a business owner or as a leader or a parent, no feedback is bad. It's always important to hear from everyone, and to take that on board and grow and develop. And our children need that mindset from the get-go. They need to know that all feedback is important, it's all signs of learning, it's all great to hear and put into action, because that is how we foster the love of learning. It's how we get that kind of idea and belief that they can do it, and that lifelong ability to have personal development, which I know that I am not alone in when it comes to having a passion for that personal development side of things, because it really does make such a difference when you are absolutely ready to learn and take on the next thing, the next big challenge. And of course, this is what builds that resilience. This is not tolerance, this is absolute resilience, because they are able to face the setbacks, they're able to face the feedback that might not be so pleasant or might not be what they thought, or the result that they didn't necessarily want to get, and they are able to work through it. They're able to process it, which is so important. So a really, really important thing to be working on with our children. Daisy, do you want to talk through some of the activities for that?
Yeah, So in my first book, I had a whole chapter called Me versus You games, and these were games I was playing with preschool age children, and it was basically me, the grown up, versus them in lots and lots of different forms. So you're talking about kind of early forms of like sports and competitive games, but in a really fun, simple, easy way. And the way I used to do this with my kids was I would kind of roughly work to a 2-to-1 ratio. So every time I let them win a couple of times, I would then model me winning too, so they could see both sides of it. They saw me when I lost against them, and I would say well done to them, and I would say, oh, that's disappointing, I'm really disappointed, I was really hoping to win that, let's play again, can we try again? And then I would model when I won as well and say to them, oh, well done, I would say, oh, you did really well there too, like that was a good game, I enjoyed that. And it's just a really important thing to do with them, to play those kind of games where you both win and lose and they get to see both sides of it, and they get to know what that feels like when the outcome isn't what we were hoping for, and how we can then recover from that. What are the ways that people recover? And if they see you modeling that, then they get an idea of kind of what it looks like. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to immediately be able to adopt that and take it on. You're going to get times where I've written here where they flip the board and it's happened.
They're still not going to want to lose, right?
Nobody wants to lose. We've got an actual game called Frustration, and it literally does what it says on the tin, and the amount of that it's gone like this because one of my kids is so frustrated with it. But it's a really good thing for them to experience and to understand. And it's actually through playing one of these games that we got to understand how my youngest felt and how she wanted a response when she did lose. So we were playing a game and she lost, and she got upset. And I think in that typical parent thing that you do, I said to her, it's just a game. It's just a game. Let's not worry about it. It's just, let's not worry. It's just a game. And then about 5 minutes later, we were playing again and I lost. And she said to me, oh, mummy, you lost. Shall I give you a cuddle? Shall I come over? And she came and put her head on me and gave me a big cuddle. And I thought, oh my God, that's a lesson for me right there. She is telling me that's what she needed. When she lost, she just needed me to say, oh, Flo, do you want a cuddle? That's all she wanted. And through that experience of playing a me versus you game, I got to see exactly what she needed and how she still needs that to this day. When she's really disappointed, all she wants is a cuddle for you to come in close to her and just sit with her in that disappointment for a few minutes. And then she kind of bounces back very quickly. Whereas if I said to her, oh, you'll be fine, it's nothing, she wouldn't bounce back, and that would then escalate. So sometimes these sort of games are a really good way of understanding our children, and playing lots of those games, even when they flip the board, even when you've had a really bad week and you thought, oh, they really dislike playing these games. Keep trying them, keep trying different ways of playing them, and just keep playing, keep making it as fun as you can, keep doing stuff, because if we stop, then we stop losing all those brilliant opportunities to see things and keep trying to build that resilience. And I think the next one is an example of one of these games. Yeah, so this is an example of one of these me versus you games.
So I've got 5 blue balls. Hello. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green balls. And we're going to race and put them in the bucket one at a time. One first, get one, pick up one. On your marks, get set, go. On. Ready, go. Mummy's winning. Another one, go. 3, go. Number 4, number 4. Number 4, one at a time.
And there's lots of physical elements here as well, guys. So thinking about all of the stuff that we spoke about before, you can absolutely see that here in terms of bringing all of that into this game.
Okay, go on then, go and get the balls out.
Right, yeah. So somebody's asked a question in the chat saying, what if they don't follow the rules?
Yes.
You probably couldn't tell from that video, but she doesn't follow the rules. For the last one, she gets bored and she takes 2 balls at once and puts them in the bucket, and so she wins. And so that's an opportunity for me to say, well, I still have to go and get my other ball. Like, how do you think I feel? You did 2 at once. So we have that chat. If they don't want to play by the rules, then don't force them to play by the rules. Let them do their own version. Ask them what rules they would like to do for the game. Perhaps play on their level for a little while. It doesn't really matter. What matters is spending that time connecting with them and having those discussions. And you can always try again tomorrow or the next day with the rules of the game. And eventually, as they get older and they understand that concept, they do get the hang of that kind of thing. And at this kind of stage where Florence was little, the rules, the games all go off in different directions. Follow their lead. You still get opportunities for loads of little life lessons in them. You know, she still won there, so it was a chance for her to model that. And then we played again. So then we did this version of this where we put the balls in our tops. So we were carrying them in our tops, and that was the time we had to do that backwards and forwards. And then I went and got some spoons out the cupboard, and we had a egg and spoon race to the bucket. And then we had a go at throwing them in the bucket, and then we had a go at kicking them in the bucket. As long as she was still interested, we could carry on playing that me versus you game, and there was winning and losing happening in equal measure. It doesn't really matter about the rules and doing it properly. All it matters is that you're having a bit of time together, and there's a little bit of some sort of competition backwards and forwards, which will give you the chance to have those conversations and see how they respond.
And I think it's a really, just to kind of add here as well in regards to that question, I think it's a really great opportunity to point out a really huge character strength, you know, being creative, or, you know, having an imagination that gives new rules to create a new game. So trying to say to your child in that moment, you know, oh, you're creating a new game. Oh, should we play it like that? It gives them permission to play with the rules, but also it reinforces that internal voice of, oh, I am creative. Yeah, I am good at creating games and making things, you know. So we can really use that to support them in terms of developing their internal voice, which is so important.
And also, just to say, it's absolutely fine if they are going absolutely bonkers in their own thing, and you're thinking that, for you to say as an adult, I don't want to play this anymore, that's not fun for me now, I'm going to go and do something else. And to model that to them too, and say it's fine to do that. If you're not enjoying the game, you're not getting anything out of it, it's fine to politely just say, I don't want to play this anymore, can we go and do something different now? And then I would maybe go inside and, you know, we'd watch TV together or go do something else. It's absolutely fine to do that. You don't have to play just because you set something up.
Absolutely. And again, that's such a good model, isn't it, Daisy? You know, we're modeling to them, if they're not comfortable playing a game, that's how they opt out. You know, that's how they opt out with their friends or whoever they're playing with. So it's such a great expression to share with them anyway.
I absolutely love all of those ideas. And I think for me, it was actually once Archie had started school that he kind of like went into this real competitive streak. So those sorts of games became even more important, and those kind of navigating those situations became even more important after he'd started school for a while. I'm not quite sure, Sam, you can probably tell me the basis of that, but yeah, it's good, I think, to be using these things in the lead up, and also keeping these up the sleeve, which is why our program goes on to thinking about what we can do after they've started as well, because the work doesn't just stop then. As an aside, thank you so much to everyone who's already signed up. I've got lots of pings on my email coming through to say that people have downloaded. I need to send you guys the link after. So if you've got an email and it doesn't have the link in, that's fine. I just need to manually do that. So it will be coming to you later.
Awesome.
So we also wanted to think here about this, as I say, from a parental point of view, because we've already talked about how our jobs as parents is to keep children feeling safe and secure, and that sometimes we need to be a safe base, particularly if they're at a time where they need to kind of regulate their emotions. We need to also think about regulating our own emotions to be able to support them with that. And when we've been speaking to lots of parents, you know, you guys, even at the start in the chat here, there was lots of kind of feeling anxious coming up. And I think a lot of that sometimes comes from feeling like you haven't really been able to share information that you wanted to share with the school yet, particularly things about what your child likes and doesn't like, and things that you think might help them, things that you think that they might find challenging, things that you think actually they really love Paw Patrol. If you could know that and you could just get out the Paw Patrol character, then probably everything will be fine. So we'd really encourage you. I know that some of the private schools have already closed, but if your school's still open and you're feeling like you want the opportunity to share some information with your child's new school, even if they haven't necessarily initiated that themselves, it is okay to get in touch with them and say, I really want you just to know this, because if you don't really want to be sitting with that until September. But if you haven't got the opportunity, and September is the best next time, have a think about what it is that you want to share with your child's school. So here's just some ideas. And up here, there's a template of what's called a communication passport. Some of you may have seen these before. They're very commonly used with children with speech and language needs, but actually I think they're really appropriate for every child, really. So it's just kind of a snapshot of the sorts of things that your child likes and dislikes, and things that they might find helpful, people that are important to them. I've just pulled this one off the internet, actually. This isn't even one of mine. So there's plenty of resources available online if you did want to create something like this for your child. It can be really useful if you think that you want the school to know some more information about your child than what they've got already.
Absolutely. I've actually just shared it in the chat, but I'll say it out loud as well. In terms of what Charlotte was saying, you can also ask your children what they want their teachers to know about them. You know, what would they like to share? It's really nice for them to kind of think about what they want to share with their teachers. It not only gets them thinking about themselves a little bit, which can be quite difficult, but also it gets them thinking about their teacher and communicating with them ahead of time, which is great. So
I think we've come to the end of all of our strategies and ideas. There's a lot there, and we are going to come to Q&A. I think there were some questions that come up, so start popping your questions into the chat box if you do have questions that have gone unanswered. But we did originally have a presentation that was much bigger, and I was kind of the one who kept on going saying, I think it's too much, because we didn't want to overwhelm you with too much information. But if you do want more ideas, there are some places that you can go. So as mentioned before, Sam and I have an online program which is called SKIPP into September, Primary Prepared. We have 3 downloadable sessions that give you the tools to use with your child when you need them. So 1 month to go, 1 week to go, and 1 week in. You can scan that QR code and hopefully it should work, or else have shared the link in the chat box again. You can go and click on that now to download that.
Absolutely. Kate, maybe you could pop that in there as well, just as we're talking. That would be great. And we've got another comment come up. We're on the Get to Know Me books. I love it. Absolutely. So great. It's so lovely to be able to set that up and have the likes and dislikes ready to share. Thank you so much.
So you can get that. We've sent the link, but just so you know, that's on both of our websites. And then Daisy has an amazing book.
She does indeed. We just had, sorry, we've skipped ahead. We also have a bit of feedback from those who have gone through our program before, to share with you, just so that you can kind of get a feel of what people experienced and the things that they kind of came out the other side feeling, which is great, because like you, they all started their journey into their kind of September preparation feeling anxious, excited, nervous, overwhelmed, worried, scared, you know, all of those things. So these are just some of the things that some of our past parents have shared with us, so we thought we would share that with you as well, guys, so that you can just see what they experienced. And yes,
look, Jackie already has your book, Daisy, and she says that her daughter loves it.
Oh, it's so nice. I love to hear that.
Oh, I love that, Jackie.
I think I just wanted to remind people that we talked a lot about preparing the children, but we haven't really talked a lot about preparing the parents like you, Charlotte. And I think that's something that is in my book. So if you do need any help, so at the back of the this one here, you can see starting school, there's actually tips for grown-ups and it's got like 10 different things that you might want to do to get yourself ready, administration bombardment, how to not guilt yourself when you forget things. We all do it, definitely.
Oh yes.
Dress up day. I'm the only kid with the hair not crazy, not got a pound for the bucket. We've all done it. So it's a little bit of tips and stuff about that. And then somebody mentioned about how to get kids to tell you about their day, and that's in another one of my books, which is this one, which is called Time for School. So this is kind of like a parent handbook on what are they going to be learning at school, what do I need to know, and it also has stuff in there about, you know, what if you think your child might be dyslexic, what should you do, or what should you do if you are worried about something, and how do you approach teachers with that as well. So that's kind of like a follow-on to, if you need anything and you're wondering about advice like that, come over to me on 5minutemum.com.
And Daisy's books are awesome, so we absolutely recommend them. They are fab. In fact, Samantha has just put in the chat, love your books, Daisy. I got them all and it's helped me with fun and quick ideas. So yes, absolutely, please do head over and grab Daisy's books, all of them. Just grab them all of the books, right, Daisy?
If you really want to.
I mean, I definitely think Samantha certainly recommends it, and we do too. So for sure, head over and grab yourself those books. Yes, she says. Samantha says yes, do it. So let's bring it all together. Charlotte, you like down for this one? Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, we just wanted you, I mean, anyone can say it, but I think we weren't sure if you were going to be able to see the chat box, Sam, but we want you to share in the chat something that you found useful or interesting, and also something that you're going to try to support your child. Everyone, we want to check you're stood awake. So please put some things in and I'll call them.
Thank you for sticking with us.
I was going to say that. I'm sorry we're so late.
Yeah.
We'll go to bed.
It's all passion, guys. It's all the passion.
Right, Jackie's going to set up a role play of school.
Nice. I like it.
Abby is going to go and set up some cute little building bricks somewhere to leave out as a conversation prompt.
Awesome.
Somebody else, Samantha, says, yes, I love that. Kara says, great tips. Doing the mock school run, etc. is a good idea. Sinead says, I'm definitely going to try the coat hack ASAP and getting visuals of the school. Juliet says, love the ideas about promoting emotional resilience. Jennifer says, the 3x3 toilet method. Jackie's going to practice ways of asking for help. Catherine is going to use visuals with her son to give him an idea of what the school day will look like. Danny's going to practice communication skills, and Samantha's going to do the heart one.
Love it.
That's great. Such a variety as well. Introduce the heart on the hand idea from Becky. It will help so much. Tamsin, how to ask for help. Yulia, we'll try the role play. We're going to read Daisy's book.
Amazing. Awesome.
S. Burgess is going to use visuals, and the heart idea is a brill one.
Absolutely. So many different ones to take away and to put into place with your children across this time. It's been awesome hearing all of the different things that you're going to do. Trying out the me and you game. Yes, it's so much fun to play around with those games. Guys, we've got to Q&A time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, encourage you all to share any more questions that you have in the chat, and if Charlotte and Daisy, you are happy to, I will open up the Zoom call for everyone to actually communicate. Maybe we can pick a few people to actually ask some questions if you're happy to do so. I will stop the recording before we do that. So just to kind of bring everything to a close in terms of the recording, for those of you that want to rewatch it, and everyone that's kind of watching this on a recorded basis, thank you so much for joining and for watching. We are so pleased to have had you join us live, or to have you watch this and catch up with us. But we really do need your help, because we are absolutely on a mission in the world to support as many families as we possibly can. And you can help us on this mission by doing a few different things. You can follow us on Instagram and the social media world, and share and comment and get involved in those communities. That's so so useful for us, but also so that we can reach as many people as physically possible. You can absolutely tell your friends and pass our details around. You can follow us on the social media side of things with the or what are they called, the links, no, what are they called, the handles, there we go, on the slide here. They're there for all three of us. So I'm going to press stop on the recording. Thank you so much. Does anyone want to add anything before I press stop, for everyone watching this on a recording level?
Just thank you all so much. I hope you found it really helpful. And if you do have any questions and you are watching the recording, then I'm sure that we're all open to you contacting us and asking us the questions directly.
Absolutely. And you can do that through any of these platforms, the many platforms to reach us on. I'm going to press stop on the recording. So have a great day, evening, morning, whatever time it is with you regarding watching on a recorded basis. And for those of you here live, let's hear some of those questions.